the game, cause see the boxing voice.
Once again, it's time for another episode of The Squared Circle with the Sports Swami, only on ThaBoxingvoice.com. Join me on the line, this man here. Well, he's going to be back in action. This time he's getting a big step up. He's going to be fighting on PBC on Fox against the ever undefeated heavyweight prospect Dominic Breazeale. He's fresh off a draw, which a lot of people thought he won that fight. We're going to see what happens here, but join me on the line. I give you all the way from Wilmington, Delaware. It is the hard-charging, heavy-hitting. I give you Amir Mansour. Amir, let's start off here with why this fight? What made you take Dominic Breazeale after what you said was some bad judging against Gerald Washington? You're taking on another PBC heavyweight. Why this fight? Why did you take it?
Well, I mean, let's see what they put in front of me, you know. One of my main objectives have always been bring excitement back into the heavyweight division. And the only way we can do that is if the best fights the best, or whoever they consider the best fights the best. So, having taken that stance, one of the last things you'll ever see me do is turn down a fight or turn down, a certain opposition, for fear of being robbed or something like that. I just feel like, hey, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. And, my mentality is don't leave it in the judge's hands next time.
All right, so now that you've fought a guy who, in Gerald Washington, who's 6'8" and looks like, a guy who walks out of a weight room, is it easier fighting a guy now like Breazeale? Now that you faced a guy who's big overall, Breazeale is 6'7", comes in around 235, 245. Is it easier fighting him now that you've had a chance to fight somebody similar to him in terms of size and athleticism?
Well, my third fight, I fought Kevin Lewis, 7'1". So, and then I fought Calvin Price, who is 6'7", 6'8" as well. So, the height isn't anything, man. I mean, it was difficult fighting Gerald Washington, not because of his height, but because of the fact that he ran and wouldn't engage. It's hard fighting anybody that's just running. It's one thing to run or get on your bicycle in boxing and you're jabbing and sticking and moving and you're throwing combinations, throwing punches. And it's a whole entirely different ball game when you're just simply running and not even trying to fight. It's very difficult to fight a guy like that when they are so tall. The last thing on their mind is trying to fight you. They're just trying to get away. And so, Dominic Breazeale, he comes to fight. I cannot fathom him, taking the run route that Gerald Washington took. And so I think that it would be an interesting matchup. I think it would be an interesting fight because, this guy comes to fight, man.
Has it hit you yet that you're going to be no matter what, you'll be making history, that you'll be fighting on the first ever televised fight on Fox? This is a big deal here. And for a guy like you, who you've had your ups and downs, good and bad, you've been been in prison, been out of prison, you've had problems with substance abuse, you've cleaned up your act. Do you ever sit back one of these days when you're training and just sit there and go, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I'm going to be fighting on national TV, making history, fighting on the first ever card on Fox. Has that happened yet, where you've had that moment where you're just going, this is going to be pretty goddamn fun?
Well, first and foremost, I've never had a problem with substance abuse, man. I didn't do drugs, I sold them. Let me clear that first and foremost, However, I sympathize with anybody that has drug problems, but, I've never been, a person that struggled with drug addiction or doing drugs or using drugs like that. I sold them. I didn't use them. And actually, this is the first news I'm hearing in terms of it's the first fight ever televised on Fox. I did fight on Fox Sports, but I didn't realize that this was the first fight televised on Fox. So that's news to me. And in addition to that, whenever I step in the ring, man, I'm just happy what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm just glad to be doing what I'm doing and given the opportunities that I've been getting. I've worked hard for him.
When you're fight, as you mentioned before, with the Washington fight, he did a lot of moving around. He didn't want to stand in front. His feeling was he wanted to make this, stand and move, keep away from your power punching, because that's what we like to do is just plant your feet and start throwing the big haymakers. So you feel that this is going to be more of your fight. Why is it? What is it about Brazil that you've seen in his tapes that gives you, confidence that he's not going to do the same thing once, you start chin checking him?
Well, if he does, I know how to make adjustments. Like I said, man, one thing Brazil is going to do, if he does start backing up, if he does get on his bike, he's seasoned enough to still engage. You know what I'm saying? Again, even if you never even got in the ring before, and you and I put some gloves on, and you say, okay, I'm going to go a few rounds with you out there. And as soon as the bell rings, you just running and I'm chasing you, and you're not engaged, and maybe every other round you throw a punch. Then you probably can survive if you can run fast enough. Dominic Brazil isn't going to do that. Hands down, I just don't think he's going to do that. And if he does, he's going to lose the fight. I think Joe Washington was throwing a bone, at the end of the fight. Everybody, felt as though I won, but, I don't stay stuck on stuff like that, man. I just feel as though Brazil has a bigger heart than Joe Washington. He has, obviously more boxing skills than Joe Washington. I don't think he's as strong or athletic as Joe Washington, but I do think he's a better boxer and has more skills than Joe. And I think he has a more sincere fighter's mentality than Joe Washington. I think he's going to come to fight, man. He's not going to come to run back up and all that. He's going to come to bring the noise.
How much do you feel for this fight that for you have more experience in this fight? As you said, you are going back all the way to, when you were young. You were always a boxer. You weren't a football player turned boxer. You were a guy that boxing was your first sport, your second sport. You have 24 fights, 16 by knockout, one loss, one draw. You've had amateur fights here. How much do you feel that's going to help you going forward with a guy like Brazil who, for better or for worse, he's still learning on the job. He's still a guy who's trying to figure out what to do, what not to do, and, how to do it in the ring.
Well, yeah, it's always a test match, man. And, in the heavyweight division, we are all one punch away from success or one punch away from failure. And with me, you make a mistake and I make you pay, it could end your night. You know what I mean? And, it's always a thinker's man game when you get into this ring, I feel as though that I have a skill set that's more superior than his. I know I'm stronger than him. I know I'm faster than him. I think he's a good opponent for me being that tall, but he doesn't fight tall. He doesn't fight scared. He comes to rock, man, and that's what I like about him. He's actually one of my favorite heavyweights, man. Like, I've watched him before, and I said, this guy is not, all there, but at the same time, he comes to fight, man, and that's what I like about any fighter. I'm a boxing fan. I love this sport, but I'm also a fan of it as well. And I just, as a fan, I'm excited to see Brazil and I get in that ring. But as a person that's in there fighting, I know I have to be smart, pick and choose, my punches, and just be smart, man, and I should be okay.
Well, there you have it. Once again, I give you the pride and joy all the way from, it's none other than Wilmington, Delaware. It's Amir Mansour. He'll be fighting once again. It's going to be January 23rd in the Staples Center. Its main event is Danny Garcia versus Robert Guerrero. It's Sammy Vasquez versus Aaron Martinez. And Amir Mansour versus Dominic Brazil. Amir, before we let you go, I got to ask, where's the Twitter page, the Instagram, the Facebook, the website? Where can the fans hit you up at?
They can hit me on Facebook at Amir Hardcore Mansour, on Instagram, Hardcore Mansour, and on Twitter, Hardcore Mansour. All day they can hit me up on those stages, man. And I'm very approachable. I interact with the fans. People inbox me. I always stuff like that. Sometimes I get a lot of questions. How to do this, how to do that. I always try and respond to the fans, man, because they make the world go around when it
Well, there you have it. Once again, I give you is Amir Mansour, and we come back. We got a whole lot more here, only on the Squared Circle with the Sports Swami, only on ThaBoxingvoice.com.